So, Stuart, you've made some pretty bold predictions so far. I think yesterday you predicted Morocco to beat France has to be the worst of the lot.
Yeah, that's just said over career and predictions anyway. You probably should have predicted that France would have won after I said Morocco would win. But it's a star-studded final we all wanted. Mbappe versus Messi.
This is World Cup Sera Qatar.
Welcome to World Cup Sera Qatar, a podcast produced and presented by sports journalism students from the University of Central Lancashire, live from our TV studios in Preston. I'm Stuart McCracken, a second-year sports journalism student at UCLan in Preston.
And I'm Matt Salmons, also a second-year sports journalism student here at UCLan. We now know the finalists after Morocco made history by getting through to the semis, but it's third-place playoff for them against Croatia on Saturday. Defending champions France will face Argentina in the final. We're joined by some fellow students here in the studio.
I'm George Wincott, and I'm also a first-year student at UCLan.
I'm Sam White, and I'm a first-year sports journalism student at UCLan.
And I'm Joe Stevenson, a first-year sports journalism student here at UCLan.
We'll hear from those in a few minutes, but first we're joined by BBC sports reporter and commentator Maz Faruqi, who joins us live from Qatar. Maz, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm a little bit chesty from the aircon out here, but I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Well, Maz, how has it been reporting on the World Cup out in Qatar, especially that heat as well?
Well, obviously, I think when we all came into it, we were very aware that there's a lot more than just what's happening on the pitch that we have a responsibility to talk about, don't we? In terms of, gender parity, migrant workers' rights, LGBTQ plus rights, and all that stuff around the World Cup, and also going back to obviously how the bid was won 12 years ago. All of that stuff is stuff that we needed to talk about. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge of this World Cup that we've not probably had for others previously, although on reflection, it probably is something we should have talked more about with Russia 4 years ago. But that's probably been the biggest challenge, is balancing, obviously, it's football, it's the biggest tournament, everything that's happening on the pitch, with also responsibility to talk about all those issues that I mentioned around it.
Well, what's the atmosphere been like out there? Just kind of give us a sense of what the vibe's like with the fans. How's it been doing your job out there as well?
The Moroccan fans have been amazing. I mean, you were talking about Morocco there, and I was at the stadium last night. I think there were 3,000 France fans, a little pocket behind the goal they were shooting towards in the second half. But the majority of the 68,000 were Morocco fans. They've been here the whole time. Argentina as well, the South American teams have had brilliant support as well. So the Argentina fans have been amazing as well in particular. They're kind of obviously all living this moment for Lionel Messi, and there's a massive amount of fear linked with that as well. The fact if he doesn't get over the line and he doesn't win this trophy is something they can't really comprehend. But those fans in particular have been amazing. There have been less European fans, but it's good to have really vocal fans in the final, as we say with Argentina now.
Well, what was your opinion on England's performance against France? Do you think they're unlucky to lose?
Well, I can say this objectively because I'm not an England fan. I think that they were unlucky, definitely. But I think Antoine Griezmann, and he showed it again last night, and he was man of the match. He's been a revelation in this different position that he's been asked to play. When you consider France came into this tournament pretty late on, the injury to Karim Benzema just a couple of days before the tournament started. Although if you read rumours today, there's some people saying actually might be available for the final, which would be some story. But him being asked to play this different role, this kind of supportive, roving midfield role behind Mbappe and behind Olivier Giroud, I think has been a groundbreaking move really by Didier Deschamps. I think he's been the difference in the game last night. He's been the difference when they've not been playing particularly well earlier on in the tournament. He disrupted England's midfield, certainly on Saturday night. I think we'll reflect on this tournament as being a really, really big one for Antoine Griezmann. I think he's been the difference for them.
We've spoken to quite a few reporters that are out in Qatar reporting on the World Cup, and a lot of them have said that they've not really taken anything with them to remind themselves of home. They've got a phone, they can just send a message to family or whatever. But I hear you've taken some a drink and a packet of sweets that you're going to tell us about to kind of get you through the World Cup. What have you got on you?
I always have Earl Grey tea bags when I go away, which makes me sound really posh because apparently Queen Elizabeth II liked a cup of Earl Grey as well, you knew. So I always have Earl Grey tea bags. And I always have, and Stephen said to me yesterday, was shocked by this, I've always got Percy Pigs because it's remarkable what you can get pundits or other radio reporters or commentators to do at ground if you've got a packet of Percy Pigs that you wave around at half time, if your ISDN kit's broken, if your mic's not working, if you need something from a pundit, they'll normally give it to you. So they're kind of like a really good sort of navigational tool.
I think
really.
there's now loads of different flavours of Percy Pigs as well. Is there any particular flavour you take with you, or is it just the
always
standard
take
pack?
original, but you've always got to have fizzy as well. I love a fizzy tail. Definitely.
Getting back to the football, it's obviously the big one on Sunday, Mbappe versus Messi, real cup final. Who you backing to win that? And on that Benzema, do you think he should come back?
I mean, you'd argue, I think, really. France haven't played particularly well, have they, when you look at the percentage stats in particular? I mean, it would be an amazing story, but I don't think Didier Deschamps will do that. I don't think he'll bring Karim Benzema back. I think he'll stick with probably his strongest 11, which he's shown throughout the tournament, of course, if they've got the injuries and they can get the players back. I just have a feeling that France will do it because they haven't been very good, but they've been getting the results. And I think the moment for Argentina, as we touched on, will be so enormous and everything that it would mean for Messi. And I don't know if you saw the Argentinian journalist speaking to him after the semi-final win and saying, it doesn't matter what happens in the final, Lionel, you're a hero to all of us. Argentina love you. You all, you take a part of all of us with you wherever you go. And that's your real victory at this World Cup. Almost like they're kind of steeling themselves for if it doesn't happen. So I think France will just edge it. And also as well, we should say, shouldn't we, that in terms of Qatar and, the owners of PSG and the big backers behind getting this World Cup here to Qatar, this is the final they wanted. They're two big superstars, and Mbappe and Lionel Messi, against each other, and it couldn't have worked out more perfectly for them.
So what's going to happen on Sunday? Then you've touched on it there. You think France are going to do it? Is it going to go all the way? Do you think that it might be a comfortable win, or Argentina going to? What's your kind of score prediction? How do you see it playing out in terms of a score?
Well, I thought it was going to be close between Croatia and Argentina in semi-finals, so don't pay too much attention to me. But I think maybe similar 2-1, maybe. I don't imagine it will go all the way, I don't think. I think it will probably be won in 90 minutes. But if the support that the fans in the stands can bring to Argentina, I think obviously it's a cliche, isn't it? But whoever gets the first goal is a massive thing. If France get the first goal, then I think the crowd in the stands will start to get anxious, and the Argentinian players will read off that and they might sort of close down a bit. So if Argentina can score first, maybe it might be different. But I just have a feeling the way they've been getting by, that France will win it.
Obviously, you've been out there reporting on the games. Which has been your favourite game to report on so far? Which has been the classic?
Probably commentating on was probably group stage in Ghana, South Korea, which was a bit crazy. That was a 3-2 because it was just end to end and nobody was defending, and that's quite fun because it never stops. And the commentary I'd done before that was South Korea against Uruguay, which is a 0-0, no shots on target. I think Cavani had a good chance. Godin hit the post, maybe. It was awful. Nothing happened. So to suddenly have something end to end was really, really good. But in terms of other games, sort of beyond that, anything that Messi's been doing has been amazing. Ronaldo was a great story because, everything was about Ronaldo. And I went to the Portugal camp after this last 16 games before they lost to Morocco. And obviously, I think arguably their performance, that 6-1 win over Switzerland, was the best of the last 16, wasn't it? And you were saying, oh God, they're the standout team really in the last 16. And going to the training camp, and all the questions were about Ronaldo, every single question, and all the journalists were convinced it wouldn't make a difference to what they did on the pitch, and clearly it did. So that was a brilliant story. And obviously him going down the tunnel, knowing the cameras were on him, by the way, as he walks off crying. I mean, that was a brilliant story to follow.
And you mentioned there you've had some pretty dull games to commentate on it, and you're on 5 Live, aren't you, on the radio? So how do you kind of, when nothing's going on, how do you keep the listeners interested? It must be pretty difficult. Is there anything you do? Would you start talking to your co-commentator about kind of something not to do with the games? How do you kind of keep listeners interested when nothing's really happening on the pitch? Because we've had a lot of 0-0s, haven't we?
Yeah, it is a challenge. particularly when they're sort of playing it around, I sort of say the middle 70%, if that makes sense. So your 15% at either end where the goals are is when you obviously kind of really ramp it up in terms of energy. Yeah, it's relying on your co-commentator. It's getting their insights about kind of their experiences of World Cups. Clinton Morrison, so obviously you go back to 2002 and Roy Keane walking out of the Republic of Ireland squad. That kept us entertained for a bit. Just kind of reminding people context. Why is this game unique? Why is this game special? Why does this one particularly matter? And then the kind of subplots within it. So Son Heung-min obviously not playing since, I think it was beginning of the month, wasn't it? 23 days he hadn't played the first one. The whole state of the group with Ghana and Uruguay and that grudge from 2010 and all those kind of things, just kind of reminding people of the stories, because you're so invested in it sometimes that you forget that other people, other listeners are dipping in and out, aren't they, a little bit more?
Well, last time me and Matt hosted this podcast, we asked our guests their favourite World Cup song. Obviously, if you'd like to give us a rendition, that'll be great as well, but what's your favourite World Cup song?
Oh, I don't know. What you mean, like from the fans, or
no? So like things like, so I went for the Pitbull one from Brazil a few years ago. You got things like Vindaloo, Three Lions, songs that kind of that you only kind of play around the World Cup.
I think World in Motion has got to be up there, but I'm not doing the John Barnes rap.
That's fine.
Enough in our lifetime. He does it anytime anybody asks, so I'm not doing it. You don't need to hear me do it. But I think that was a classic because of the outfits and the hair more than anything when you watch the video.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time, Maz, and enjoy the rest of the tournament and get home safely as well from Qatar.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
no worries. Thank you. Okay, so let's have a look back at last night with our studio guests here. As we've mentioned, France beat Morocco by 2-0 in the second semi-final. The scoreline doesn't tell the whole story, though, Stuart. Morocco created many chances, and they really could have, got through in that one.
Yeah, last night's victory meant France will now contest their fourth World Cup final on Sunday. It's been a tough run to the final, though, for France, who narrowly beat England. Sorry, lads, for reminding you of that again.
The door's over there.
And last night was far from a straightforward victory like we've seen in the first semi-final for Argentina. Do you think it was an inevitable victory for France last night?
Well, that's the way it's feeling right now. They don't look like world champions sometimes when they're playing their games, but they're getting through and they're in the final again. And it just kind of feels like it's inevitable that France is going to win, but it also feels inevitable that this is the tournament for Lionel Messi. So whichever way it goes, you could say that it was always going to happen.
And go on, Sam.
Well, no, I think Morocco feel really hard done by, and they were soft goals, if I'm being honest. They were really, really soft, and they dominated the game pretty much, Morocco. And you kind of felt that it was going to come at one point. Unfortunately, it didn't. But of course, they've already made history, so I mean, good for them. They can go back with their heads held high. But yeah, France into another final.
I think when we came into this tournament, there were concerns about France's strength in depth, obviously given all the injuries, the likes of Benzema, Pogba and Kante. But I think what they showed yesterday is that they've still got those players that can come on and make a difference, even though they're not necessarily household names. Obviously, we saw Thuram come on the left-hand side, cause some problems. And then Kolo Muani obviously got the second goal for France. So I think they will just have enough in the end to get past Argentina.
And how unlucky were Morocco last night? They had so many, well, not so many chances, but there were some big key moments in the game where they really could have, got themselves into it.
There were some massive chances, and I think as well they were just crying out for a number 9 in the box to just stick it in the back of the net. There's almost ping pong, at some points in the second half, with the ball just bouncing around the area. Ziyech on the wing was putting in some unbelievable balls, and obviously had Boufal as well on the other side driving him forward. But like I say, I just think they were missing someone like a poacher just to put one in. The game could have been very different if they'd even gotten back at 2-0 down. I think they would have been in the ascendancy.
Was that the difference? The front lines ultimately proved to be the difference between the sides?
Well, I think obviously France's first goal came from a left back. So, I mean, it's just the way that Deschamps plays, isn't it? It's how he wins games, and it's how he's got to 2 finals in a row. He will score that goal, sit back, and let his players' individual brilliance. He relies on them big moments like a Tchouaméni strike or Mbappe doing what he does to win the games. But I think if Morocco had scored a goal, France would have come out their shell a bit and easily scored again. I think the game flatters Morocco a bit. France did what they needed to do to win.
I think they needed you up front, Stuart. Basically,
Yeah.
We've seen you on the
My
five-a-side pitch.
five-a-side.
Yeah, exactly. There was a great atmosphere in that stadium last night. I think football is now going to be, like the national sport of Morocco, isn't it? Everybody is going to be a Moroccan football fan after last night. It was incredible to see, wasn't it?
100%. And I think that's one of the benefits of having a World Cup in the Middle East, is that we've never really seen the true colours of Arab or even African nations, and what the atmosphere that they bring. We always see the South Americans, the Europeans to an extent, but we've had a real focus on the Qataris, the Saudi Arabians and the Moroccans, and they've kind of brought a different kind of vibrancy, I think, to the World Cup, different kind of vibe. And that's been something really, I think, truly special, and given Qatar its unique vibe.
Yeah, they've been a breath of fresh air, some would say, this tournament. Going back to France, do you think Didier Deschamps will be the best ever French manager if he does pull it off on Sunday?
I think so. Obviously, the back-to-back World Cups is no easy feat, is it? And I just think if he does it, then he's got to go down as a French legend. Whoever wins the World Cup, never mind winning it twice in a row as well. So, undoubtedly so, yeah.
Definitely.
And Morocco, they've got a big chance to make themselves third place, claim that accolade in the game that everybody's going to be watching. Everybody loves the third and fourth place playoff. Morocco v Croatia, we'll just get a very quick word on that, because I know the final's obviously a lot more important, but we'll just kind of go around the room. We'll start on this side. So Morocco v Croatia, third versus fourth. Who's going to take third place at the World Cup?
From the way the two teams have played, it's going to be a 0-0 game. Go to penalties, but I think Morocco will feel absolutely deflated. I feel like they were on such a high the entire time, beating Spain, beating Portugal. They felt like nothing could have stopped them. I think Croatia have dealt with disappointment before, lost in the last World Cup final, so I think Croatia will win.
Contrary to that, I'm actually going with Morocco. I can't believe we're even doing a prediction for this. Probably the most pointless game on earth. But I think Morocco are going to win 1-0.
I think, like Joe says, Croatia the more experienced side here, but I think Morocco, the 12th man, will be there.
Yeah.
Their spirits won't be down yet, and I think they're going to come to a scrappy 1-0 victory over Croatia.
I'm going to have to agree with Joe here. I think they'll be too deflated. Croatia, they were beaten well before the end of the game. Morocco were fighting to the end, so I think Croatia will have that. Now, going back to, as we talked with Maz there, Benzema could be involved in the final. He says still part of the squad, and Deschamps was asked in his press conference yesterday if he would bring him back, and he just smirked. So, do you see Benzema playing on Sunday?
I feel like it could be if he brings Benzema on, Benzema gets the winner, Deschamps will be a tactical mastermind, given all the accolades, might keep his job, but if they bring Benzema on or start Benzema and he is unfit, drops a bad performance, it could absolutely kill Deschamps. So I wouldn't risk it personally. I think it's not fair on Giroud. He's scored 4 goals. He's been far better than he was in 2018. And even someone like Thuram, who came on yesterday and played amazing, he'd be begging for that chance to start in the World Cup final. So although Benzema's a Ballon d'Or winner, I wouldn't start him.
Exactly the same. You probably wouldn't. And the fact that someone's come back from injury and you're going to play him in a World Cup final, you'd at least expect to get the bench. I think the only possibly chance he'd be on is if it goes to extra time or it's a penalty kick and it's a quick sub. Giroud obviously been in form, and it's kind of like, who does depart if Benzema starts? And I think that'd be really unfair on whoever does exit. So, no for me.
I think you've got to use him. It's Karim Benzema, the Ballon d'Or winner, one of the best strikers in the world. I don't think you start him, obviously, for the fitness and disrupting the way the side's playing, but I think definitely have him on the bench. If you need a goal, Argentina are in the ascendancy. Benzema's that type of striker that come on and show a bit of individual brilliance, and it might just win them the World Cup. So I think it's a risk worth taking.
It'd be some forward line, wouldn't it, if we saw that on Saturday? Griezmann, Benzema, Mbappe and Giroud. How on earth do you get all four of them? I just mentioned it then, Kylian Mbappe. It's Mbappe versus Messi on Sunday. It's going to be unbelievable. I can't wait, honestly. The two sides have played each other 3 times at previous World Cups, with Argentina having 3 wins and France having 1.
Yeah, and the last time they met was actually the last World Cup, and France, we all know, beat them 4-2 in the last 16 to send Messi's Argentina home. Do you see Messi getting thwarted by the French again?
Well, it's a different type of game now, I feel. It was a game of individual brilliance in 2018. You had Di Maria scoring from outside the box, Pavard scoring, you had Mbappe really. I feel like that's the game that put him on the world stage when getting them 2 goals against Argentina. Obviously bigger stakes, it's a final, not a round of 16 game. So I think that Messi is going to provide the difference, and he's not going to let it happen again. He won't let it happen again after 2014.
Messi is going to make all the difference here, and you can tell by how Argentina have performed that they are going to win this. I'm sorry, France. You're not going to get a double title. Otherwise, I'll eat my words. But no, Argentina won it. They've played really, really well, and I think bold prediction for me: if Argentina win, Messi will immediately retire.
Wow, yeah,
because
yeah.
his PSG form has not been good. Probably wanted to stay at Barca anyway. But due to obviously financial problems with Barca. But no, Messi will be the difference for Argentina, and I think that might be that.
I think
Messi's
it would be career complete, wouldn't it?
Yes.
It would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been a Ronaldo over Messi man, and I'm probably going to get some bad looks for that one. But I've been watching Messi in this tournament, and I'm kind of like, I probably should kind of tip that over to Messi. How impressive has Messi been? Just kind of talk us through it.
He's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, against Croatia as well, that assist for the goal where he's just sent Guardiola to the shops about 3 times for 3 different sets of bags, unbelievable. I just think this is his moment. If there's ever been a chance for him to grab that final accolade, it's now. But I do think that France will leave Messi in tears again. I just can't see it happening. I wasn't that impressed by Argentina until recent weeks. I never thought they got out of 3rd or 4th gear until these past few games. But what we did see from them against Croatia was that they are capable of doing that. And I think with France as well, I'm not convinced by them defensively, to be honest with you. So it could go either way, but I think, it'll be something like a Giroud goal and they'll edge it 2-1 in the final, France.
Yeah, it seems to be the written in the stars story against the experience of the French. So we're going to push you off for a prediction. What are we going for?
Well, I think Argentina will win, but if Kylian Mbappe can become the first player since a little guy called Pelé to win back-to-back World Cups in 1962, I think that it'll be Mbappe or Messi making the difference. I'm going to go 1-1 and Messi to score the winning penalty for Argentina.
Oh.
I'm actually basing my prediction, I know it's different from 4 years ago, on that because I think it was such a good game, wasn't it? I'm going to go Argentina winning 3-2 with a last-minute goal.
I'm going to go for 2-1 France. I think Mbappe will score, it's Giroud, and Messi will get the goal for Argentina. I've not been particularly impressed with Mbappe at this tournament. I know he's obviously got 5 goals to his name, but he hasn't contributed as central to this France side as you would expect. But I don't know whether that's him being out wide as such, but I think he will come up trumps this game against Argentina.
Well, probably shouldn't predict this goal.
Yeah, Stuart, Stuart's predictions are awful. So
I want Messi to win, but I think France just experience will be the difference. 2-0 France I'm going to go for, but going with my predictions, that means Argentina will win.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you've all gone for you've all gone for goals. I think this is going to be 1-0, or I could even see it being a 0-0, and decided on penalties, which is unbelievable, really, considering the quality on the pitch. I'm going to go France because of my kind of Ronaldo bias. I think I can have that. Ronaldo's won a major international tournament whenever I'm arguing his case against Messi. So I'll go France on penalties, and I think it's going to be 0-0.
Oh, we're coming now to the end of the tournament, obviously, with just the 2 games remaining. So we thought we'd pick our own teams of the tournament. So we'll start with the goalkeeper. So who have we all went for next?
Well, I think it's got to be Livakovic. 4 penalty shootout serves, 3 clean sheets in 90 minutes. You could say Bono, but Livakovic edged it for me.
I've gone to Bono. I think you're going to say that, Stuart, as well. 4 clean sheets for Morocco, win a group with Belgium and Croatia. Extraordinary performance, well deserved. So Bono for me.
Yeah, least goals conceded in the competition. I think you have to go Bono.
I've gone for Livakovic as well. He's really put himself on the map here with these performances. The penalty hero twice for Croatia, and I just think now there'll be a few clubs looking at him after this tournament, and he's fully deserved the position.
Surprise, surprise, I've gone for Livakovic as well. Yeah, the 2 lads here have argued the case for me, so there's not much more to add. Run us through your back 4. We're kind of basing this off as if it was a 4-3-3 formation, so we'll go for a back 4. Just tell us who you've got and maybe pick out one player that in particular that you want to highlight. We'll start with it.
Well, I'm going to go with Hakimi, Otamendi, Gvardiol and Theo Hernandez. And my standout player is Hakimi. Led his side to the semi-finals of the World Cup, first African side. 4 clean sheets. He said the same about Bono. He kept Mbappe pretty quiet last night. I know Mbappe was sort of getting the edge on him when he was having to push forward to get a goal for Morocco, but he seemed to be probably one of the only right-backs that can deal with his pace, and he gives something to worry about going forward as well, so he was my standout defender.
My back four is Hakimi, pretty similar to Joe, but I've gone for Hakimi, Vardiol and Hernandez, but I've, different to Joe, I've gone with Youssef Ged, who plays for West Ham, obviously signed in the summer, but has only played 4 times this season, which is ridiculous considering he is one of the main starters for Morocco and they've reached the semi-final. That is extraordinary performance from him, so I've highlighted him.
Yeah, I've went the exact same back four as you, Sam. But I just want to pick out Vardiol. We had some of our guests say he's going to be the young player of the tournament. I don't see why not. Messi did make him look a fool, but Messi makes everybody look like a fool.
So I've gone for Dumfries, Saiss, Guardiol and Hernandez. I'm going to pick out Saiss here. It's quite an interesting one. Morocco's captain. Obviously, we were all rooting for them getting to the last stage of this tournament. I think some of his contributions have gone unnoticed, driving the team on forward, getting them through these games that they necessarily don't have the experience in, against these big sides. And they've knocked out some giants, and I think him and Aged obviously have been solid at the back, and I think it's one of the main reasons they got as far as they did.
My fullbacks are Hakimi and Theo Hernandez, and then at centre-half I've got Guardiola and dare I say it, Harry Maguire. I'm sorry, and I'm not a Man United fan. I'm the as far away from being a Man United fan as I can be. But I think for all the stick he gets when he's back here in England, he's gone out and he's had a good tournament. I'm not saying he made an error for the Giroud goal. If that could have been any other defender, Giroud would have just headed it off him, and the same thing would have happened. So I'm going for Harry Maguire. I think he's had a really good tournament for England. But let's move on to midfield. We'll go back round the other way. If you give us your 3 midfielders, tell us whether it's kind of attacking, maybe defensive, and whatever, and then just pick one out for us that you want to highlight.
I think mine's less so attacking, quite a balanced midfield. But I've got Tchouameni, Enzo Fernandez, and Bellingham. I'm going to pick out Tchouameni from France. I just think he's still quite young, but he's had an excellent tournament, obviously filling in for those injured positions of the likes of Kante and Pogba that he may have not necessarily had as many minutes in this tournament. But he's a very, very good midfielder. 88% pass accuracy, I think he had in their last match, and he's combative, drives forward every time he gets the ball. And that goal against England, as much as it pains me to say it, what a strike on the big stage. And you can see why he's earned his move to Real Madrid.
I think I'm actually going to have to change mine as well. And I was going to put Amrabat in there, but I think I'm going to put Tchouameni in there now because I didn't even think of that in our kind of meeting this morning. I think I highlighted him in one of the first podcasts as kind of a key player to watch out for as well. So he's going to go in there. I'm going to have him in centre midfield along with Jude Bellingham. I think he's been outstanding.
Bit of England bias there.
Exactly, yeah. And another England player in there. I wasn't going to do an England 11, don't worry. But yeah, Jude Bellingham, I think he's had an unbelievable tournament. The way he's conducted himself as a 19-year-old. It's scary to think that he's the same age as me, and I'm sat here in a studio in Preston and whatever. But yeah, he's been unreal for England. And then so I've got I'm going to go with Tchouameni and Bellingham in midfield with Griezmann as the attacking midfielder.
Well, I've one for Griezmann as well. He's been sensational, and then everybody's talking about Amrabat. Some talking for player of the tournament, but I'm actually going to go for his Moroccan teammate Unane from Angers in France. I thought he was excellent last night. Really dominated the midfield battle against the likes of Tchouameni, who plays for Real Madrid. So I think he might get a big move after this World Cup. What have you got for Sam?
I'm also going to change to Tchouameni, funny enough. I've gone for Tchouameni, Modric and Bellingham. Bit of experience, bit of youth in there, quite a strong attack. But yeah, they've all performed really, really well. Really good expectations, fantastic World Cups for them all. Tchouameni and Bellingham have all got great futures. Modric, again, showing his class.
Well, I'm not going to change to Tchouameni because I've got Amrabat, Modric, been amazing, and my standout player, Griezmann, in that new role as an 8. 17 big chances created, the most at the World Cup. He's had 3 assists, no goals. He was joint top scorer last tournament, but he's had a better tournament in my opinion this time. He's been the difference for France, linking up that player, difference against England. He's been outstanding in that role as number 8 for me.
Yep, now we'll move to the front line or front 3. I think we're all going to have Mbappe and Messi. It's just who's the other one on the front 3. I went for Julian Alvarez. I think the last few games Argentina wouldn't have got through if they didn't have him up front. So who have we all went for?
So I've got Saka, Messi, and controversially I've not gone for Mbappe.
Oof.
I've gone for Gakpo. Now, like I say, I haven't been particularly impressed by Mbappe at this tournament. Obviously I know he's got the 5 goals, great performance against Poland, but I just don't think he's had a central role as we would have expected him to have in this France team. And a man that has had a central role on this side is Gakpo. He's really come of age, and it's easy to see why so many clubs are after him now, the likes of United. Really dynamic player, drives at the defence, and he makes things happen even when the Dutch weren't necessarily playing well. And it's crazy to think that, the likes of Leeds and Southampton almost snapped him up in the summer. I bet his value's gone through the roof now.
Yeah, my front three, I've gone with Mbappe and Messi either side of Harry Kane. No, I'm joking. I've gone with Olivier Giroud. I think he's been fantastic. I really liked him when he was back playing in the Premier League with Arsenal. So yeah, Olivier Giroud is my shout up top.
My attack is also including Messi and Mbappe. Messi playing right hand side. But I've gone, I think, Stuart, you mentioned this, Antoine Griezmann, who really has come into one of his own. But it really is all about Messi here, isn't it? Scored and assisted in 3 of those games that he's played for Argentina. And, yeah, obviously could be his final curtain at a World Cup. But really, really showing his class today.
Well, obviously I've got Messi and Mbappe. I like the argument for Gakpo. He was Netherlands' best player. But when it came to that crunch time versus Argentina, he nowhere to be seen. It relied on a Burnley striker to try and provide. But I've got Olivier Giroud again, as much as it pains me because I wish he could have done it for Arsenal. 4 goals. He offers something different. He allows Mbappe to do what he does because Giroud sacrifices himself, but he's got the goals this time, unlike the last World Cup, so it's Olivier Giroud for me.
Well, thanks for everybody's discussions and that is the end of the podcast. So that's it for today. Thanks to our special guest, BBC journalist Maz Faruqi in Qatar.
This podcast was produced and presented by sports journalism students here at the University of Central Lancashire in Preston. If you liked it, you can follow us on Spotify and YouTube and share it with your friends. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back tomorrow morning for the very last time, which is going to be sad, where we'll be joined by BBC Radio 5 Live's England producer Gary Flintoff to help us sum up Qatar 2022. Thanks very much for listening and watching, and we'll see you then.